and I want you to be quiet in the house. And when he looks up, he sees that the brother is kind of shook, like something's wrong with him. And he says, well, where are you going? And he says, I have to run to Tennessee. I have to run to Tennessee. And he says, what's in Tennessee? Why do you need to run to Tennessee? Your mother needs you here. And he says, my mother has my brother. I'll be back, I promise, in the next few days. And he said, you can't keep running in and out of here. Your mother needs you. And he said, I know, but my mother has my brother right now. And he said, look, just let me go to Tennessee for a couple of days. I need to get a little bit of help, and I'm trying to run the clothing store. And then the guy's like, well, you better be back here because your mother needs you and you can't run in and out this house. And he says, what are you doing, by the way, anyway? What is in Tennessee? Drugs? What is in Tennessee? And he says, it's not drugs. And he says, I believe you're selling drugs. You have way too much money unaccounted for. And he said, you better not ever involve your mother in this situation. And then he says, and you better not be the reason your sister was killed. And he said, what? And he said, man, I will kill you if you ever insinuate that I'm the reason my sister was killed. He said, my sister was never killed. I would never put my sister in this situation. And he said, man, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean for it to come out that way. I'm just really hurt. And he looks at him again. He says, man, he said, man, I will beat you up right here. I will kill you if you ever insinuate that my sister that I had anything to do with my sister's death. And he says, okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. He said, but, you making these runs during a time when your mom needs you is not acceptable. Your mother needs you 24 hours a day. And he said, I'm trying, but I have to run to Tennessee because I need to get more merchandise. And these men are giving me a problem about giving me my merchandise from my store. And he said, can you do me a favor? Can you have my brother take care of my mom and you sit at my store for a couple of days? He said, can you do that for me? And he said, well, I don't know if I want to do that for you. I'd rather sit here with your mother. I don't trust anyone to be with your mother except me. I trust that I will take care of your mother during the trying time. And he said, okay, well, if you trust that you'll take care of my mother, I'll appoint somebody else to take care of the store. And so he said, okay, you appoint somebody else to take care of the store, and you let me do the caregiving from now on for your mother. He said, I don't want you here every day with your mother because you don't care about her. And he said, you cannot tell me that I need to stay away from my own mother. I'm allowed to be here every day. And he yells at me, he says, I don't want you here every day until your mother gets well. You don't know what your mother feels. And he says, whatever, man. I'll stay elsewhere sometime, but not all the time. And he said, sometime you will stay elsewhere. I will put you out of here. And then he said, but you just told me that you wanted me to stay with my mom 24 hours a day. And he said, yeah, I'm confused. I'm going through a lot with your mom and I just want the best for her. And he said, look, I'll be back in 2 days. You take care of my mom and I'll find someone to run my store. And then he said, okay, you come back in 2 days. And he said, when you come back, I have something for your ass. And he said, what the hell does that mean? He said, a man-to-man talk, a long man-to-man talk is what I have for you, knowledge. And he said, I already got enough knowledge. He said, not enough for me. And he said, I do have enough knowledge. I have enough knowledge from everyone. And he said, you don't have enough knowledge. You don't even know what knowledge is. Y'all boys run these streets. Y'all do whatever y'all want. Y'all don't care about no one around y'all. And he said, I care about my mom. I just have to run to Tennessee. And he said, okay, when you get back, you better be ready for a man-to-man talk. And he said, yeah, you better be ready for one too. And then he said, okay, I'll see you when you get back. He said, all right, bet, I'll be back. And the scene ends. And so after the scene ends, the coroner, the Asian gang scene begins. And once the scene turns to the Asian gang, they are actually sitting in like some kind of Japanese tinted window cars. They're having discussions in these cars. In this long big car, and they're sitting inside of a car, and there's like a Japanese or Asian drug lord that's sitting there, and he asked them, so how many girls so how much money do we need, how much money do we owe exactly? And the Asian says, well, we owe about I guess altogether about $100,000 from these tenants in Tennessee. He said, but we do have a buyer. We have a few buyers that want to buy us out of these homes. And he said, I think that's best. And so he said, if we get buyers, if we get all our rent money back from these tenants, we'll let these girls go free and they'll never have to worry about anything else. And he said, well, that's kind of what's going on, is that a guy has reached out to us and asked us if we could release the girls for all of our rent money, for all of our back money owed. And so we asked him, if he comes up with $100,000 and buys out the properties, we will release the girls. And he said, well, if that happens, I would be very grateful. And he said, I am not a spiteful guy. I am an honest guy. If you give me what I deserve, what you owe me, I will give you back your girls. And he said, and that's the way it needs to work with this gentleman. And he said, well, the gentleman wants to do this, wants to do business as fast as possible. And he says, how fast? He says, within the next couple of weeks, he plans to give us all of our money and buy all our properties, and we are going to release the girls. And he said, okay, so I am a fair man. If you give me all my money and you buy all the properties, I will release all the girls and they will be free to go back to Tennessee. And he says, okay, so he said, I will be in touch with you soon about this situation. And I will be in contact with you within the next week. And he says, yes, man. Yes, the same place, same time, a week from now. And he said, okay, the same place, same time, a week from now. And the scene ends.